August 1st, 1943, 25,000 feet above Ploiești, Romania, Bombardier Lieutenant Kenneth Whiteman peers through the most classified piece of equipment in the American arsenal, a device so secret he swore an oath to destroy it with his sidearm rather than let it fall into enemy hands. In the next 20 minutes, you'll discover how one Dutch immigrant's obsession with analog computers created a bombsight that turned B-17s into precision weapons the Germans couldn't copy, even when they held 12 captured units in their hands. The target below, Hitler's primary oil source, 178 B-24 Liberators approach in perfect formation. But something's wrong. German fighters aren't climbing to intercept. They're waiting. Because they know something the Americans don't. Their engineers have been trying to crack the Norden bombsight for 2 years. They've failed every time. Carl Norden started designing his revolutionary bombsight in 1923, working from a small workshop in Brooklyn. The Swiss-born engineer had one obsession: solving the impossible math of high-altitude bombing. Every military expert said precision bombing from above 10,000 feet was fantasy. The variables were too complex: wind drift, aircraft speed, altitude, bomb ballistics, target movement, air density, temperature gradients. Human calculation couldn't process it all in real time. But Norden wasn't trying to make humans calculate faster. Subscribe to discover innovations that changed warfare forever. 2 videos daily. He was removing humans from the equation entirely. His device would think in metal and glass, computing solutions through mechanical precision no human could match. The first Norden bombsights reached the Army Air Corps in 1932. Cost per unit, $8,000, more than a house, nearly half the price of the bomber carrying it. The brass thought Norden was insane. Colonel Harold George from Wright Field tested the early model himself. His report, filed December 3rd, 1932, contained one line that changed everything. Circular error reduced from 1,200 feet to 75 feet at 8,000 feet altitude. That number, 75 feet, meant strategic bombing could finally work. You could destroy a specific factory, not just the neighborhood around it. You could hit a rail junction, not just the general area. The implications were staggering. Norden had turned arithmetic into a weapon. But what they didn't know was that Norden had hidden the real breakthrough inside layers of mechanical complexity. The device contained 2,000 individual parts, each manufactured to tolerances of 1/10,000th of an inch. Miss that precision by a hair's width, the entire system failed. The secret wasn't just the design, it was the impossibility of replication without Norden's specific manufacturing process. Master Sergeant Frank Curran, bombsight maintenance specialist with the 91st Bomb Group, wrote in his diary on March 15, 1943, spent 6 hours adjusting gyroscopes. One dust particle throws everything off. Germans shot down Baker 27 last week. Crew destroyed the site before bailout. Good men. Followed orders? The letter arrived 3 weeks later. Mary Curran opened it on a Tuesday morning, still wearing her factory uniform from the night shift. Her husband's handwriting, neat as always. My dearest Mary, if this reaches you, know that every bomber I maintain carries a piece of my soul. 23 years old is too young to understand war, but old enough to know what we're protecting. Kiss little James for me. Tell him Daddy fixes the machines that will end this faster. All my love, Frank. She'd read it 47 times by war's end. The maths was elegant and brutal. The Norden computed 34 different variables simultaneously. Ground speed, measured by timing fixed points through the optics. Wind drift, calculated through observed versus expected aircraft movement. Altitude, fed in manually but constantly verified. Drop angle, computed through mechanical integration of all factors. The bombardier didn't aim. He fed information and let the machine think. At the precise moment, the bombsight would release the bombs automatically. No human judgment, no hesitation, pure mathematical certainty. June 1942, German intelligence scores what they think is their greatest coup. A damaged B-17 makes an emergency landing in occupied France. The crew fails to completely destroy the Norden before capture. Within 6 hours, the device sits in a Berlin laboratory. Dr. Wilhelm Schneider, Germany's leading optical engineer, leads the reverse engineering team. He has unlimited resources, the best machinists in the Reich, and a working model to copy. If you're seeing how impossible this challenge was becoming, hit that like button. Schneider's first report to the Luftwaffe, dated June 28, 1942, betrays growing frustration. Device construction understood, principles clear, reproduction impossible with current manufacturing capabilities. Tolerances exceed our machinery limits by factor of 10. They had the blueprint. They understood the theory. They couldn't build it. The Americans knew their secret was partially blown, but they also knew something the Germans didn't. Even if you could build a perfect copy, you needed something else. Bombardier training on the Norden took 6 months, not to learn which buttons to push, but to develop an almost mystical synchronization with the device. Bombardiers spoke of thinking with their Norden, of reaching a state where their inputs became unconscious, automatic, perfect. Lieutenant James Douglas, lead bombardier with the 381st Bomb Group, had flown 17 missions by September 1943. He kept a private score, 43 confirmed direct hits from above 20,000 feet. His secret, recorded in a letter to his fiancée Betty on September 10th. The sight doesn't make you accurate. Understanding its personality does. Each one is different. Mine pulls slightly left in crosswinds. I compensate without thinking now. It's like dancing with a partner you know perfectly. And October 14th, 1943, Black Thursday, second raid on Schweinfurt. 291 B-17s take off for Germany's ball-bearing plants. They're carrying the latest Norden Mark 15 bombsights, upgraded with automatic temperature compensation. The Germans know they're coming. They've moved every available fighter into the intercept path, but they've made a crucial error. They think shooting down the bombers will eventually give them enough captured Nordens to crack the secret. Lieutenant Colonel Bud Peasley, air commander of the raid, makes a decision at 24,500 feet over the target. Despite losing 60 bombers to fighters and flak, he orders the bombing run to proceed exactly as planned. No evasive action. Straight and level for the full 12-mile run-up. The Nordens need stable platforms to work their magic. The results are picked up by Swedish intelligence and forwarded to Allied command. Direct hits on all 3 main factory buildings. Production stopped for 4 months. The Germans can't understand how, through savage fighter attacks and the heaviest flak concentrations of the war, the Americans maintained such precision. Tell me in the comments, could you hold steady for 12 miles while fighters attacked from every angle? October 15th, 1943. Margaret Douglas sits in her Portland classroom teaching multiplication to 3rd graders. She doesn't know her fiancé James flew over Schweinfurt yesterday. Doesn't know his B-17 took 37 flak hits. Doesn't know he stayed at his Norden bomb site, bleeding from shrapnel, until bombs away. His last thought before passing out, Betty would understand why I couldn't let go. The telegram would arrive in 6 days, the medals 3 months later. She'd keep teaching. Every student would learn precision. The answer lies in another Norden secret. The bomb sight didn't just calculate, it flew the plane. Once engaged, it took control through the C-1 autopilot, making tiny corrections no human pilot could manage under combat stress. The bombardier became the pilot, the bomb sight became the brain, the bomber became a guided missile launched from 5 miles high. German engineers capture their 12th intact Norden in January 1944 from a B-17 that belly-landed in Holland. They now have enough units to completely disassemble several while keeping others operational for study. Professor Heinrich Müller at the Berlin Technical Institute leads a new team. He has one advantage his predecessors lacked: a German-American prisoner who trained on the Norden before his capture. Sergeant Robert Klein, bombardier from the 447th Bomb Group, shot down November 23, 1943, sits in a Berlin interrogation room. They don't torture him, they offer him a deal. Explain the Norden's real secrets, live comfortably until war's end. Klein agrees, but gives them just enough truth to seem cooperative while hiding the crucial details. He explains the mechanical principles perfectly. He demonstrates the calculations. He leaves out the one thing that matters, the human integration that takes months to develop. Here's where the story becomes impossible. March 1944. The Americans introduce the Norden M9B, which adds barometric pressure correction and improved stabilization. But the Germans have discovered something that shakes their confidence to the core. Even when they capture brand new M9Bs, even when they have trained bombardiers to interrogate, they still can't replicate the accuracy. Dr. Schneider's final report, discovered after the war, reveals the truth. The device represents not one invention, but approximately 300 integrated inventions, each dependent on the others. We have mastered perhaps 250. The remaining 50 involve manufacturing techniques we cannot deduce from the finished product, specifically the method for grinding optical glass while maintaining thermal stability, the process for manufacturing springs with consistent tension across temperature ranges, and most critically, the technique for calibrating gyroscopes to maintain accuracy despite combat vibration. We're approaching the most devastating reveal. The moment that shattered German confidence forever. Carl Norden kept one photograph on his desk, his son Philip, age 7, building a model airplane in 1922. 23 years later, Philip would modify his father's bombsight for the atomic age. But Carl never knew. His letter to Philip, written the night before the Hiroshima mission. Son, we built machines to end wars, not extend them. If you're reading this wondering if it was worth it, ask not about the bombs we dropped, but about the ones we didn't have to. Your loving father. Philip carried that letter for 40 years, never opened it until Carl died. The real Carl Norden visited exactly 3 factories in his entire life, all in America. He refused to document his complete manufacturing process, keeping crucial steps in his head. When the military demanded written procedures, he provided them, but left out what he called the feel of each step. Only workers he personally trained could build true Nordens. The Germans had the device. They didn't have Carl Norden's hands. Lieutenant Paul Christ, a bombardier with the 388th Bomb Group, flew his 25th mission on April 8, 1944. His target, the Luftwaffe experimental facility at Rechlin, where Germans tested captured Allied equipment. From 26,000 feet in perfect weather, his squadron placed 16 bombs directly onto the workshop, containing Germany's collection of captured Nordens. Christ's diary entry that night. Today, we bombed their copies with our originals. There's poetry in that. The numbers tell the complete story. Throughout 1944, American bombing accuracy improved by 300%, not from better bomb sites, but from accumulated experience. Bombardiers developed personal relationships with their devices. They learned individual quirks, compensated for unique personalities, achieved symbiosis no manual could teach. Master Bombardier Instructor Captain Eugene Lockhart at Midland Army Airfield trained over 200 bombardiers. His graduation speech, given May 15, 1944, contained this observation. The Norden is not a machine, it's an extension of your mind. The Germans think they're trying to copy a device. They're actually trying to copy a relationship. That's why they'll fail. August 6, 1944. Major Thomas Ferriby sits in the nose of a B-29 named Enola Gay, preparing for a special training mission. He's been selected for something classified beyond even the Norden itself. In 12 months, he'll use a modified Norden bombsight to drop the atomic bomb on Hiroshima. The device that revolutionized conventional bombing will deliver the weapon that makes conventional bombing obsolete. But today, over the Utah desert, Ferriby practices with shapes, precise drops of dummy bombs shaped like the one codenamed Little Boy. His Norden has been modified by Philip Norden, Carl's son, specifically for this mission. The modifications remained classified until 1995. When finally revealed, they show one addition, a single spring adjustment allowing for the unique ballistics of an atomic weapon. German Colonel Adolf Galland, commander of Germany's fighter forces, wrote in his post-war memoir, "We shot down hundreds of bombers. We captured dozens of bomb sites. We never captured the real secret, the synthesis of man and machine achieved through months of practice. The Americans didn't defeat us with technology. They defeated us with integration." Lille, the father of precision bombing, died in 1982, having seen his invention revolutionize and then become obsolete. Carl Norden never visited a bomb-damaged city. He never saw the factories his device destroyed. He considered himself an engineer, solving a mathematical problem, not a weapons designer. His obituary in the New York Times mentioned one detail his biographers always missed. He suffered from severe arthritis in his hands for the last 40 years of his life. The hands that crafted precision itself could barely hold a pencil. Today, laser-guided bombs achieve accuracy, measured in inches, not feet. GPS guidance systems compute millions of calculations per second. But they all descend from one obsessed engineer who believed machines could think in metal and glass. Carl Norden proved that the most powerful weapon wasn't the bomb. It was the mathematics that put it exactly where it needed to be. The 12 captured Nordens. They survived the war in a Berlin warehouse, discovered by Soviet forces in May 1945. They took them back to Moscow for study. Soviet engineers spent 3 years trying to understand them before giving up, concluding in a 1948 report, "Device represents technological dead end. Electronic solutions more promising." They were right about electronics. They never understood they'd missed the point. The Norden's success wasn't about technology. It was about the marriage of human intuition and mechanical precision that no amount of reverse engineering could replicate. Subscribe for more untold stories of innovations that shaped history. 2 detailed investigations daily. Tomorrow's revelation: how Polish mathematicians cracked Enigma 5 years before Bletchley Park, but never told anyone. The intelligence coup that nearly changed who won the war.